Good afternoon to everybody out there in YouTube land, all my chatters in the chat room and my lurkers and my Memorex viewers that'll see it later on. Glad to have you with me today. Oh, I'll tell you what, it is an overcast day here in Indiana, but that's okay. A little bit off and on, and that is greatly needed and greatly appreciated. Um, the breeze is blowing just a tad out there, and it's in the 70s, so the temperature is mild. And after all the heat we've gone through, I appreciate the temperatures being down a little bit too. Gracious, we got a lot of news to cover today here on the 16th day of August, with the month just rolling right on by us. So I think we'll just go ahead and jump right on into it. The first one that I've got here is off of the lastgreatstand.com, and it says shadow government, WikiLeaks exposes George Soros controlling Clinton. Video that goes along with it is I break down the article below that contains a leaked email written by George Soros to Hillary Clinton, where he is giving her instructions on what she is to do. This begs the question that both myself and countless others have been asking forever: who for Hillary Clinton really for? Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton have long been George Soros puppets, and George Soros doesn't care about the United States. He cares about one world governments. There series of links at the bottom with dozens of stories most Hillary voters have never heard, largely because it's Soros and his globalist buddies who and see to it that people get as little information as possible. Below you have the proof firsthand. Please share with a Hillary supporter you know, is what the article says. And there is a video associated with this if you would like to get that. There Newswire report on the bottom of this thing too, and some other things. So if you want to read up on that, it's in the description of the video, as are all the URLs that I'm going to talk about today. So you can kind of keep up with what I'm doing. The next one that we have here is off of the RT.com, and it says Soros hacked thousands of Open Society Foundation files released online. The video associated with this if you want to see it. And it says more than 2,500 files from the raft of organizations run by billionaire George Soros have been leaked by hackers. Saturday's leak, published by DC Leaks, includes hundreds of internal documents from multiple departments of Soros groups, predominantly the Open Society Foundations. Are grouped into sections such as geographical region, the World Bank, and the President's Office, and cover the period from 2008 until 2016, according to the Daily Caller. Work plans, strategies, priorities, and other activities by Soros, and include reports on European elections, migrations, and asylum in Europe. Leaks claims to be the work of American activists who want to present the truth about the U.S. decision-making process, as well as about the key elements of American political life. U.S. security experts, however, are blaming the leak on Russian hackers, according to Bloomberg, and a similar reaction seen in the wake of the DNC leaks. And then let's see, it goes on and it says the DC Leaks hackers previously released data from the Open Society Foundations in June was reported to the FBI, according to spokeswoman Lars Silber. And an investigation by a security firm found was limited to an intranet system used by board members, staff, and foundation partners. DC Leaks also revealed emails from former NATO General Philip Breedlove, which showed he tried to provoke President Obama to start the U.S. conflict against Russia. Breedlove claimed in July that the emails were stolen as part of a state-sponsored intelligence operation. Leaked by WikiLeaks earlier this week showed Soros had advised Hillary Clinton during Secretary of State on how to handle unrest in Atlanta. She acted on. Soros Open provides funding to the Internal Consortium for Investigative Journalists, which came under the spotlight earlier this year after the release of the Panama Papers, which included millions of records from law firm Mossack Fonseca. All the wealthy are using tax havens. Leak came under criticism from WikiLeaks, who claimed the U.S. government and Soros funded the project to attack Russia and President Vladimir Putin. So there you have that one on Soros. The next one that I have for you, pack review, and I'm waiting for it to come up. Technology's wonderful. Well, we'll just try again. There we go. FBI U.S. Attorney probe of Clinton Foundation underway. Investigations are underway involving potential corruption Clinton Foundation, according to former senior law enforcement official. And if I can get it to scroll up a little bit, that would be helpful. A little squirrel to quit running in its cage here or something. Let's see. Everything running slow today. Rainy day. The investigation centers on New York City, where the Clinton Foundation has its main offices, according to the former official who has direct knowledge. Prosecutorial support will come from various U.S. attorneys' offices, a major departure from other centralized FBI investigations. The New York... Now it's going to jump on me. Hang on. When it comes to technology. The New York-based probe is being led by Preet Bharara, the U.S. Attorney of New York. Bharara's prosecutorial has resulted in a large number of convictions of bank Wall Street insiders. Say it again. Poor little squirrel. He's just getting so tired running inside that wheel. The official said involvement of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York would be seen by agents as a positive development, as prosecutors there are generally thought to be more aggressive than the career lawyers within the DOJ. And the squirrel's just running. Let's see if he can keep up here. Bharara's government biology notes that he has applied on large-scale sophisticated financial frauds by creating two new units, the complex frauds unit and the complementary civil frauds unit. The civil frauds unit has collected close to $500 million in settlements since its inception, including multi-million-dollar settlements with City Mortgage for for faulty lending practices and other fraudulent conduct. Nicholas Bias, a spokesman for Bharara, said he would decline comment. Similarly, FBI spokeswoman Samantha Shero said, "We do not have a comment on investigative activity." Known for securing convictions of prominent political figures, including former New York State Assembly Speaker Sheldon Shriver. Silver had seemingly intractable grip on power in the state for decades. He was convicted of attempting $4 million in exchange for helping a cancer researcher and two real estate developers. He also secured the conviction of New York Republican Majority Leader Dean Skelos, was sentenced to 5 years in prison for corruption. The former official said the investigation has been coordinated between bureau and FBI managers at headquarters in Washington, D.C. An unusual process would ensure senior FBI supervisors, including Director James Comey, would be kept abreast of significant developments. The reliance on U.S. attorneys would be a significant departure from the centralized manner in which the FBI managed the investigation of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's use of private server and email addresses. Was conducted with agents at FBI headquarters who coordinated with Department of Justice's National Security Division, the NSD. The Clinton email probe was considered a small cell investigation with FBI agents and NSD attorneys frequently conferring. Comey short-circuited that investigation in early July by announcing that no reasonable prosecutor would try Clinton for the careless handling of classified material. Although find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information, he announced on a July 5th press conference. However, wouldn't answer questions about any ongoing FBI investigation of the Clinton Foundation. Before July 7th congressional hearing about his decision not to recommend prosecution of Clinton, Comey told House Committee and Governmental Reform Chairman Jason, I'm not going to comment on the existence or non-existence of other investigations. The Foundation tied into this investigation, persists Chavez. Answer that, Comey replied. In its 15 years of operations, the Clinton Foundation, formerly known as Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation, has collected up to $2 billion from donors, according to Washington Post. The donors include a wide range of the world's wealthiest people: Eastern European tycoons, Arab sheiks, African mining magnates, hedge fund billionaires, and Wall Street firms. Reported that the couple brought in $3 billion. If you count all the campaign contributions, the Clinton fundraising operation, $3 billion amassed working in tandem for more than 4 decades has no equal. As part of a wide-ranging investigation into the source of the couple's funds. Development, CNN reported Thursday that Justice Department officials in 3 different field offices were in agreement in public corruption investigation should be launched of the Clinton Foundation activities, marked by banks notifying the FBI of suspicious activity around a foreign donor to the Clinton Foundation, according to Pamela Brown, CNN's Justice Department reporter. The investigation, if launched, would have looked at conflicts of interest between requests by foreign donors and official. CNN did not identify the bank or the foreign donor. The FBI and Justice Department officials met, and there was a disagreement whether investigation. In the end, the investigation was killed. A separate investigation was approved involving Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, director to the foundation most of its existence. So there you have that article on that mess. We'll see if anything ever comes of it. I have my doubts, but we shall see. Maybe they will prove me wrong. Conservative Daily Post, Julian Assange will now see Hillary's ties to Saudi ISIS. Here are the emails. To date, there is no one on the face of this earth that can deny Hillary Clinton ties to terrorists and countries that support Sharia law. The evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. As WikiLeaks continues to release waves of emails from Hillary Clinton proving she provided arms to ISIS and other terrorist groups, another leak has come out against her. Hillary Clinton developed a master plan when she was Secretary of State. She would approve major weapon deals to countries in exchange for large financial contributions to her foundation. Called pay for play. That is highly illegal and unethical, but clearly Hillary can operate above the law. It is proven that Hillary was allowing Saudi Arabia to manipulate our visa program. Already strong evidence that Saudi Arabian terrorists exploited the U.S. visa program, but now we know the opportunity to do so at the behest of Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State. The documents prove Hillary Clinton doubled the number of visas for Saudi visitors to the U.S. while helping cut a deal with the kingdom to waive security procedures for Saudi nationals upon their arrival in the U.S. So what does that actually mean? It means that Hillary allowed anyone deemed a higher up in the Saudi government to come and go into the U.S. without being vetted or screened. As a refresher, Congress unsealed the 28 pages from the 9/11 Commission report that proved high-ranking Saudi officials funded the terrorists that carried out 9/11. These are the people Hillary associates herself with. Of non-immigrant visas issued to Saudi nationals soared 93% during Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013, hitting a record 578 2013, and a post 9/11 pause in Saudi visa approvals. Hillary Clinton was abusing her power as Secretary of State. She was allowing Saudi nationals to come into the U.S. whenever they wanted to buy properties, corporations, and build ties with congressmen. They could have more influence in American politics. In exchange, Hillary has received nearly $1 million from Saudi Arabia alone. Before leaving office, Clinton helped negotiate little notice January 13th administration deal with to allow Saudi visa holders to enter the U.S. as trusted travelers and bypass the normal border security process. The next year, the State Department issued an all-time high 142,180 Saudi visas. Obama administration and Hillary Clinton has set an irreversible precedent with Saudi Arabia. Now that they have been allowed this much access and influence in American politics, they expect to continue to rise. This is exactly how China began to own so much of the U.S. It started small and grew out of control because of personal arrogance by some. And Hillary have opened the floodgates to more than 709,000 Saudi nationals, most of whom applied for student or business visas, records show. It's as if 9/11 never happened to them and 19 Saudi terrorists never infiltrated the country and visas. How the 9/11 terrorists got into the U.S. to begin with. For a few years, creating their master plan while being funded by the Saudi government, and then they carried out their attack. This same program allowed them to infiltrate our country in 2001. Imagine how many are here right now as sleeper cells for ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or any other terrorist group. It has so much influence in this country now that if we ever defy them or their requests, the thousands of sleeper cells they have here to carry out something similar to 9/11. We can thank Hillary Clinton and Obama for all of this. It presents a major shift from changes in immigration policy made in the wake of 9/11, when the number of visas issued to Saudi Arabians plummeted 69.7%. In 2002, Saudi visas slowed to a relative trickle of just 14,126. Can you see the trend? Between 2002 and 2008, the United States experienced a relatively low amount of terrorist attacks on our own soil. Now it has almost become uncontrollable. Obama and Hillary Clinton and terrorism are growing stronger in the Middle East, Europe. Look at the terrorist attack numbers under Obama and Hillary on U.S. soil. Notice the consistency. Both jihadist and non-jihadist attacks stay on the rise from 2008 to 2015. I don't know how they classify non-jihadists, but the violence continues to get worse no matter what you label a terrorist. Hillary Clinton formed an alliance in 2008 that has effect on this country. They have destroyed our country. Our allies do not trust us. Our enemies do not fear us. Terrorism continues to grow to historical records. globally and is taking over the United States because they allow Islam to run rampant here. Is this the life we want for our kids and grandkids to experience? A life where you second guess seeing a movie because a shooter may walk in, or you avoid a concert because a suicide bomber may be there, or perhaps an event downtown worries you because you remember that an ISIS cell ran over 90 people with a truck in Nice, France a few months ago? That isn't what the United States should resemble. Free in the home of the brave. We destroy terrorists, we appreciate our law enforcement and military personnel, and we cower to no one. With the country, then Hillary is the candidate for you. If you want to get back to being strong, secure, and prosperous, then let us unite together and elect Donald Trump. Share this with everyone to show support for Donald Trump and to prove yet again Hillary is controlled by foreign money and governments. There's that one for you to ponder. And the next one that I have for you is actually off of InfoWars. And there is a video with this, but I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get copyright that. So you can play the video if you want to. But it says, the article reads, a Secret Service source has told InfoWars that Hillary Clinton has major neurological health problems, and a big announcement regarding her medical situation is coming soon. The Secret Service source reached out to InfoWars reporter Joe Biggs during a recent Republican National Convention in Cleveland and confirmed the following information. Hillary has very serious neurological degeneration, which could be Parkinson's disease. $1 million has been spent to specially adapt 3 SUVs in which Hillary travels to provide lowered floors and disabled access to prevent Hillary from tripping. Is so intent on keeping reporters away from Clinton because she is at risk of petit mal seizures that can be triggered by camera flashes. Major problems with balance, difficulties with walking, and keeps falling down. Will be forced to make a big announcement soon regarding her medical condition. The source told us that this information was relayed to the press by others, but they were too afraid to run it. So InfoWars was reached out to directly by the Secret Service in Cleveland 3 weeks ago because they trusted us to run filtered. The revelations correlate with other information provided by federal agents and police officers who have worked security at Hillary events. A former officer who provided VIP security details for the New York Police Department said he was told by federal agent and other NYPD officer who worked security at Hillary events that Hillary had major health problems and was often dizzy and disoriented. About Hillary's health are intensifying following the release of our viral video, which asks why Clinton has been strangely in recent weeks and months. Despite leftists attempting to portray an entire issue as baseless conspiracy theory, released last week found that 59% of Americans would like to see the Clinton campaign release Hillary's medical records. There you have that. I think we definitely need to know more about what's going on with her. He has a seizure function is fatal. That means that side of the ticket, we're actually looking at Kane, not her. And on the Republican side, talking about that if Trump is for real, that it could be that vaccinated. Well, if that happened, then at Pence. So there's something to consider. We've got going on here is off of the Common Sense Show. Says the Clinton campaign is in real trouble. Well, I'd agree with that. It says the Clinton campaign is falling apart. Last night, my wife was watching a local station and they were doing a political analysis show with so-called experts. My wife told me she had paused the show so I could watch, and I muttered something about the fact that I would rather do the laundry, mow the lawn, and wash all of our clothes, but I gave in at her insistence. Struck by what I saw. Straight out of the MSM, boldly stating that time Clinton does not engender the trust needed to get elected. That banning a dramatic turnaround, Clinton cannot win, regardless of what the polls are saying. In fact, one analysis said that the CNN poll showing Clinton was holding a 7-point lead was fiction. They pointed to the fact that most recent LA Times polls showed that the race heat. She has the, let me try it again. The analysis said she has the email problem, the Benghazi problem, and now allegations have surfaced about the Clinton Foundation's regarding arms deals with terrorists supporting the states. The analysis took their shots at Trump, not go far enough into criminality of Clinton, but needless to say, I was in shock due to the fact that so much truth was revealed in a mainstream media presentation. The Clinton campaign is falling apart, and here are some hard and fast markers in support of this statement. In these articles, I have been highly critical regarding the mythology reported by the mainstream media in determining that Clinton held a 10-point lead, and randomization, or lack thereof, is the key component on why the MSM polls are not to be believed. If you interview a sample with 80% of the participants being Democrats, you are going to get 10% Clinton lead. Mostly unemployed people, the same results will occur. But in terms of honest election results, these polls are not worth the paper they're written on. Furthermore, the small sample sizes for many of these polls is too small to form a generalized conclusion about America as a whole. One poll was conducted randomly select an equal number of voters in each part with equal number of independent voters. The results are stunning, and this poll maintained the statistical rigor conclusions about the true nature of in this country. Can massive voter fraud overcome a 46-point lead? Maybe, but that's a lot that cannot be subtly covered up. Here is a video summary of what these results mean to the overall election and future of the presidential race, so you can watch that if you want. It says, we conclusively know that the FBI director James Comey is corrupted and compromised, but apparently many of his field agents have not gotten the word that Clinton's criminality is out of bounds for the FBI to investigate. From mainstream media outlet MSN, they just released the following damaging report regarding Hillary Clinton. And it reads in quotes here, the multiple FBI investigations are underway involving potential corruption of the Clinton Foundation, according to former senior law enforcement official. Investigation centers on New York City, where Clinton Foundation has its main offices, according to the who has direct knowledge of the activities. Or will come from various U.S. attorneys' offices, major departure from other centralized FBI investigations. The New York-based probe is being led by Preet Bharara, U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Bharara's prosecutorial aggressiveness has resulted in a large number of convictions of banks, hedge funds, and Wall Street insiders, unquote, which I already read in that other article. Even if the result are covered up by Comey and Loretta Lynch by another round of criminal investigations, I'm not sure. It goes on and it says more revelations suggesting that Clinton's campaign is unraveling. This is off of Real True News. It says allegedly conducted an interview with DNC insider who demanded anonymity. RTN published an interview on August 7th between RTN's Max Insider and an unnamed source within the Democratic National Committee. The source says Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign is imploding because every weapon they've deployed against Donald Trump has failed, and Hillary may soon drop out of the race, the DNC source stated. Trump is polling far better than what the MSN say. Polling far better than the media narrative shows, but even more predictive social media scene has collapsed into landslide proportions in favor of Donald Trump. Trump's campaign is more at social media than Hillary's. Hillary inherited Obama's victory lab, but that was all geared to 2012, which was still pretty primitive by today's standards, and to who might as well have been caveman by today's standards. Things changed. Hillary changed. Hillary didn't. Changed. None of the Democratic Party tried and true attack methods works against Trump. Strategies works on him. We called our opponents racist. Like 93 to 98 times out of 100 people would back down. And there was zero counter narrative. Softball, Romney was pretty clean, but he wasn't ready to get nasty and take the heat. Its allies, only Sarah Palin had the woman card. That was it. Our online portion of the vote, it was smaller than today, but they were shut down. None of our focus groups were Trump voters. We didn't bring any of them in at the start. We tried racist, we tried misogynist, we tried anti-Islam. It worked on our focus people. On Trump voters, no effect. Reverse even. It made them stronger, more committed. I've never seen anything like it. It collapsed when we tried it on him, and suddenly it didn't work anymore. Right now, tests have shown that attack ads almost never have any lasting impact. Events like conventions, they determine who answers the phone, not who changes their vote. The social media front might be the biggest deal going. We have our response team go we had our response team go hard racist, sexist, social justice, but it just pisses everyone off. It changed nobody's mind. Hillary campaign has fake followers, and the media's conclusion. We bought fake followers. That used to be what everyone did. Trump, his guys are all real. We've got media established narratives. Our works with the major outlets to shape the stories. That's traditional. He doesn't even have comms or communications team. He just fires off tweets and they all go viral. Every last paid like 1,000 for Politico. Campaign paid nothing, and they got, you know who Trump voters trust? Breitbart. Look at the numbers. And in conclusion, it says the pattern is so clear that a blind man could say that Clinton's campaign is imploding. Few trust her, and for good reason. Clinton's health issue. Promised email links, which will tie Clinton's to known Saudi Arabian terrorists connected with 9/11. I look for a dramatic shift in tactics by the DNC and the elite that DNC takes their marching orders from. They cannot allow Clinton in her depleted condition to ever get into a debate with Donald Trump in the present political atmosphere. The odds are increasing that there will not be an election in November. The wheels are coming off this new world order bus. That. And the next one I have, USA Politics Today. On it. If I can get this thing to work right here. There we go. FBI ignores Obama's orders and launches massive investigation into Hillary. Get rid of the pop-ups. Okay, Obama tried to say Hillary's signed in, but failed. James Comey is nice man. Now it's going to jump, for crying out loud. Some kind of an advertisement here. Just like I tell the salesman at the door, I ain't buying what you're peddling. All right, let's see if it'll stay put now. Comey's a nice man. He decided to ignore the orders from Obama's administration and did what millions of Americans expected from him, started to investigate Hillary so that finally she will end up where she belongs, jail. Multiple FBI investigations have been launched into possible corruption charges against the Clinton Foundation, as requested in a letter written by the House Republicans on July the 15th. And we'll scroll it down a little bit. It says, we already reported that several government organizations have been sequestered to investigate the Clinton Foundation on corruption charges. A letter written and signed by 64 House Republicans states that recently discovered information about the Clinton Foundation portrays a lawless. The letter formally asked that the IRS, the FBI, and Federal Trade Commission begin looking into allegations. However, James Comey has already been stopped by the Department of Justice once in an attempt to prosecute Clinton. This time, however, he has sought legal assistance from outside the DOJ, and he will not be hindered again by Loretta Lynch. A former senior law enforcement officer recently revealed that the FBI is working with U.S. attorneys in New York City for support in their ongoing investigation of the Clinton Foundation. New York City is where the foundation's main offices are located. Another drastic blow, as the fact that the lead prosecutor in the case is Preet Bharara, a U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Bharara has successfully convicted banks, hedge fund managers, and Wall Street insiders, along with prominent politicians. The former officer said that the involvement of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York will be seen by agents as a positive development, as prosecutors there are generally than the career lawyer within the DOJ. According to Bharara's official biography, he has applied on large-scale sophisticated financial frauds by creating two new units, the Complex Frauds Unit and the Complementary Civil Frauds Unit. The bio also states that the Civil Frauds Unit has collected close to $500 million in settlements since its inception, including the multi-million-dollar settlements with Deutsche Bank and Citi Mortgage for faulty lending practices and other fraudulent conduct. It goes on, just like the other ones did, that they're trying to get her. So we shall see. I'm reading this because it's coming up on so many different websites. Internet media here. Something to it. Next one to come up on polling, and it's from newswithviews.com. Unbiased independent poll, Trump 67%, Clinton 19%. Last week, Clinton's, that would be CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, and rags like the LA and New York Times began a coordinated effort to promote consensus that Donald Trump is toast. Serial criminal Hildebeest Clinton is ahead in all the polls, so it's just a matter of time until Trump. The Never Trump dogs are still at it. Yeah, they are, and no one cares. The media has been all a Twitter for weeks, trumpeting GOP's, that would be globalist rhinos, refusing to endorse Trump because they would rather see Clinton in the Oval Office. Urge RNC to spend money on congressional races, not Trump. 5 Republicans have signed a letter urging Republican National Committee Chair Reince Priebus to spend the primaries money on helping secure Republican majority in the Senate, not on Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Let me see if I have this correct. If Hildebeest in the White House, which will finally finish us off with a Republican-controlled House and Senate, isn't that what we have now? Imposter in the White House, Republican-controlled House and Senate years ago would go after Obama. Dirty rats, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell will get in bed with Hillary, keeping our borders open, give amnesty to tens of millions of liars, cheats, thieves, murderers that will be illegal aliens, supporting thousands of Muslims with no proper vetting. Make no mistake, that includes jihadists. Yet more wars pushed through the final nail in the coffin. sovereignty as well as jobs, the TPP, and spend us into final collapse, then there are 3 to 4 U.S. Supreme Court seats that will likely come up in the next 4 years. How many Republicans in the Senate voted for agenda-driven incompetence like Schottelmayer and Kagan? Both on the bench. Hildebeest Clinton can't even fill a high school gymnasium. That is a fact. No one's going to her rallies. Hillary can't. Hundreds are consistently turned away at Trump rallies because of space availability. I want you to go look at these pictures, tell a story, and can't be ignored. These are from all over America, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things full of pictures here that you can look at, showing you about how many people's at the Trump rallies and how many people's at the. And it says the turnout is the same for Hillary wherever she is appearing. 50 here, 150 there. It's like her supporters are there, but no enthusiasm. To the doctors for an enema. Or perhaps they've seen these charts. And there's a link to go look at the charts. Source in the U.S. Department of Commerce. They show exactly what's going on. And there's a lot of blame that can be put on the current incumbent Republican-controlled House and Senate, who have refused office and have been spending trillions for unconstitutional cabinets and programs while giving House nearly everything he wants for the last 8 years. Yet if no one is to believe in your face propaganda by the Clinton, Trump is lost somewhere on the campaign trail while the majority of voters want their own destruction, which translates to vote for corrupt Hillary. Those polls you've been hearing so much about on Fox and other networks from respected organizations supposedly tell us what American voters want. Out of a sample of 803 voters, or 642 voters, or as a poll calling for 1,134 voters, all are for Clinton. She's leading, but group of individuals fed up with the media con game conducts their own poll. We have just completed our own poll. Since we cannot get from mainstream media, we called 1,000 homes in each of the 50 states and asked a basic question on the economy, terrorism, immigration, and presidential pick. The number one factor that Americans are concerned about, and terrorism was number 2. Was Trump by a large percentage. Trump, 33,478 votes, which is 67%. 1,788 votes, 19%. Or other, 6,739 votes, 13%. 50,000 registered voters from all 50 states versus 803 or 1,134 voters. The poll above from registered voters list. 33% Republicans, 33% Democrats, and 34% Independents. Now tell me Hildebeest is up 14% anywhere except Hollywood. A piece of history. And there's a link that you can click on that says Summer of 1980 poll flashback. Carter 39%, Reagan 32%, Anderson 21%. There's that. There's a little more to it if you want to read the rest of it, but I think that pretty much tells you, if you're listening to mainstream media, you're being lied to. The next one that I have is off the Daily Caller, and it says Virginia's Syrian refugees resettled in poor communities hours away from wealthy DC suburbs. According to data department, Refugee Processing Center, almost all Syrian refugees resettled in Virginia since October have been placed in towns with lower incomes and higher poverty rates, hours away from the wealthy suburbs outside of Washington, D.C. Syrian refugees placed in Virginia, 112 have been placed in communities at least 100 miles away from the nation's capital. 105 were placed in cities where median incomes fall below the state average. Counties of Fairfax, Loudoun are all among the nation's wealthiest, and according to U.S. Census data, collectively have roughly 1.7 million residents. The three counties have resettled a grand total of 9 Syrian refugees, all 9 of whom were placed in the city of Falls Church. Percent of Syrian refugees in Virginia were all placed miles away from the nation's legislature. Charlestonville, 0.9 miles away. Google Maps, Harrisburg, 130 miles away. Newport News, 171 miles away. 137 miles away, and Roanoke, 240 miles away, received the rest of the state's Syrian refugees. That one goes on too, if you want to read a little bit more about that. I found it interesting that all these people in Virginia, but they're putting them out Washington, D.C. proper. I mean, shoot, just put them right in there. Have mercy. And we go on. The next one is off of the allnewspipeline.com. There we go. The former U.S. general has alarming warning. ISIS infiltrating the bloodstream of mainstream America. They are here in startling numbers. According to Lieutenant General Michael Flynn in a recent interview with the Washington Free Beacon, affiliate Islamic State are already living here in America, though the exact number of them are unknown due to the Obama administration efforts to downplay and hide this information from the public. Before you scream conspiracy theory, keep in mind Lieutenant General Flynn used to be the director of the United States Defense Intelligence Agency and is now key advisor of presidential candidate Donald Trump. Flynn tells us those of at least 1,000 instances of ISIS have been caught. Yes. If there are that many that he knows about and plots that have been interrupted, how many more are there that we have no idea about? In July, in a story we published on A&P, America is now in grave danger. Flynn also recently told Meet the Press that we're the best in the world and our enemies love when we telegraph everything that we're doing. We are arming our enemies with knowledge. Maybe an even better question might be, how can America defeat our enemies when our leaders refuse to acknowledge who they are? Told in the second video below that reviews this Free Beacon story, we were hoping to keep terrorists out of this country. It's already too late. Startling numbers. As our videographer also tells us, Flynn has warned that the Obama administration refusal to label all of the radical Islamists that he's allowing into this country as potential terrorists has put us all in danger. Much more below these Flynn's comments, including recent comments by Trump himself that Hillary Clinton is ISIS's MVP. She wants to be president. From the Free Beacon story, there's some quotes here. It says, "This is an enemy that actually sees our way of life as something that is not acceptable," he said. "They're infiltrating, and their campaign plan is to basically dominate the world through letting Islam bloom. Leaders in the United States refuse to acknowledge this reality and are actively downplaying the threat," Flynn said. That is, or is this something that is acceptable to our current leadership? Because this is something the enemy says it's doing. They have declared war on us. They are doing a variety of things. Some are tactical attacks that you've seen. Some is just infiltrating into sort of what I call the bloodstream of Main Street America. That's how they're going to do it, he added. America's difficulties in facing down ISIS are the result of Obama's administration failure to clearly define our enemy, Flynn said. Warfare 101 is know yourself, 1,000 battles, he said. This president, who is also wearing the hat of commander-in-chief, has shown really a level of incompetence when it comes to clearly understanding and clearly defining the enemy we are facing. problem. We face political incompetence at this point. Leader Flynn said, must take steps to the enemy and the threat that poses to Western values. Trying to get this to scroll up a little bit. I think there's a little more to it, but it runs really, really slow. It's old and it don't like to be pushed. Okay, I think that's about the end of it. There might be a little more if you want to take a look at that, but I think that tells you what you need to know, don't it? We're waiting for the opportunity. I think it's just a matter of when the powers that be decide that they want them to attack. The next one is from WND.com. This one is Muslims slaughter 13 Christians and run hundreds off their land. If I can get her to scroll up a little bit. There we go. Well, shoot, pop-ups. These silly sites and their pop-ups. Muslim Fulani, a cluster of Christian villages in Kaduna State in northern Nigeria last week, killing at least 13 Christians and scattering members of the area, sources said. Attacks told Morning Star News that the herdsman killed 2 Christian women in Ninti village on August 1st, and that she knew of 8 Christians killed in Gada Bayo August 2nd. Local newspapers reported, jumped on me. Let's see. With another 2 men killed in Awaki on August 3rd. Here comes on the same day, a new report was released by a media research center showing the U.S. media have covered up the genocide of Christians in the Middle East. Of hundreds of Christians displaced from the area of a Harry Baptist Church in Gada Bayou Village told Morning Star News that the attacks on Ninti and Gada were carried out by Muslim Fulani herdsmen. The Muslim herdsmen have become heavily armed in recent years. On August 1st, about noon in Ninti, the Fulani herdsmen attacked 2 Christian women and a man while they were on their farm, she said. They cut them with machetes. The woman and her daughter-in-law were killed by Fulani herdsmen while the man is still in the hospital as I talk with you. The next day, killed 8 Christians in Gada Bayou, 5 identified only as Friday, Arauco and Dalati, and Jerry, she said. Her brother-in-law, 25-year-old Joseph, is missing and presumed to have been killed by the herdsman. Johanna told the news service now that he has not been seen and nothing has been heard about him, she said. On August the 3rd, after security forces had turned away the herdsmen, she said the assailants returned to Gada Bayou about 6 p.m. to burn down the houses. They carried out the destruction for 3 hours. I escaped from Gada Bayou to Ganawaya on Monday, August 1st, when the Fulani came to attack the village at noon, and returned on Wednesday afternoon to retrieve some of our clothing by the evening of that Wednesday. Returned to my village to destroy our homes. They lit fire on some houses before policemen and soldiers were brought there to repel them. The Washington-based Media Research Center used a special report Wednesday titled Shameful Silence, in which it spotlights the whitewash by the U.S. media of the going on in the Middle East. The report details the broadcast news network's silence on Christian genocide in the Middle East below as a summary of their findings. Between January 14th and June 2016, Evening News showed referred to persecution against Christians in the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia just 60 times. Despite telling religious conversions and mass displacement, the network refused to add up the thousands of atrocities amount to genocide. Just 6 of the 60 reports used the word genocide, even when Secretary of State John Kerry officials declared in March 2016 that ISIS was engaged in genocide. CBS didn't report it. Media kept calling Darfur genocide. The George W. Bush administration and the networks had no problem calling the situation in Darfur genocide, even before the U.S. officially called it that. Once it did, they referred to Darfur genocide 38 times in 2 years. No. Had even connected the dots of their own reports. They should have known and reported on what was really happening to Christians. By their own reporting, Christians are on the run from their homes. Mass graves have been found, and Christians have been forced to convert or die. In addition, network journalists could have watched their own news magazine shows. Both ABC's Nighttime and CBS's 60 Minutes have aired excellent long-form stories on the atrocities to use the word genocide. Obama's downplaying the slaughter. 6 instances where the networks have used genocide or equivalent terms. They have tended to lump Christians in with Sharia Muslims, echoing the Obama administration's reluctance to focus on the anti-Christian violence. During the 2 years MRC Culture analyzed, one source has recorded 226 Muslim on Christian attacks. At least 125 churches have been attacked. According to one Christian group, 7,000 Christians worldwide were killed because of their faith in 2015 alone. Yet even when the Obama administration has officially and unofficially called the Christian persecution in Iraq and Syria genocide, the networks almost never use the word. Harrowing escapes are emerging from Nigeria. Near the Kapachan has 3 nations that were displaced as a result of the attack, Johanna said. Al-Hiri Baptist Church, Saban Rai Baptist Church, and Evangelistic Church Winning All. The 3 pastors escaped from the village during the attack, and since the attack have not returned to the village, she said. My pastor, the Reverend Nathan Johnson, Baptist Church on Monday, following the killing of the 2 women in Nante village, evacuated to Gadagodu and returned to Gadabayu. Narrowly escaped being killed on August the 2nd as he swam across the river at Gadabayu. He's now living as a refugee in Kapachan. And it's got some play here, and I'm trying to shut it down. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, I thought I had it down. Cooperate with me. There we go. The pastor of the ECWA church has fled to Gadadoyu, where whereabouts of the pastor of Saban Rai Baptist Church are unknown. Johanna said because of the attacks, the 3 churches of Gadabayu held no worship service on Sunday, August 7th. Al-Hiri Baptist Church normally has about 300 members. There you have something else mainstream media won't report on because the administration doesn't want the word used. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and it smells like a duck, I got news for you. It's a duck. The next one we have here is off of WND, and it says America's first female Muslim lawmaker about to be elected. The state that has imported the most Somali Muslims over the past 25 years has reached a historic milestone that may be a harbinger of things to come. In Tuesday's Democratic primary for the Minnesota House of Representatives, Ayan Omar, a hijab-wearing Somali woman, defeated 44-year incumbent Phyllis Khan and will likely become the first female Muslim legislator in the U.S. history in November. The district is made up mostly of college students and immigrants, offering zero chance for her Republican challenger in November. Escaped civil war in Somalia as a child and lived with her family for 4 years in a Kenyan refugee camp before being resettled by the United Nations and the U.S. State Department in Minnesota. Now 33, she works as a community organizer, serving as director of policy initiatives at Women Organizing Women, where she empowers East African women to take civic leadership roles in their community, according to her website. The 6 accomplishments Omar lists on her website is lobbying passage of city council resolution honoring Muslims in Minneapolis, passing in Minneapolis city ordinance, the first of its kind, to allow businesses to extend their hours 35 days a year to honor, respect, and accommodate Muslims celebrating Ramadan. In an interview with Knight Errant, Omar says she learned about politics mostly from her grandfather's example and by meeting with people from predominantly immigrant communities. Is the current president of the State Democratic Party's Feminist Caucus, which would seem to fly in the face of the beliefs of a practicing Muslim, the submission of women under men, and wearing the jihad is but one symbol of the submission. Women are counted half of men under Sharia law for purposes of inheritance. Dr. Mark Christian, a former Uman who grew up in Egypt, the son of a Muslim Brotherhood operative, said the Brotherhood uses Muslim women in positions of authority in Western countries where Muslims are still a small minority. Every country is different. The Muslim Brotherhood, only in USA and West, love to have women at a high level position to show how equal they treat women. He writes in his booklet, Women and Islam, but this is a strategic tactic world where women are not oppressed. But it's a very different story in Muslim-dominated societies in Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Oman, UAE, Yemen, Somalia, Syria, Afghanistan, where women are typically not allowed to go out in public without being escorted by father, brother, husband, or some other male relative. They must be covered and are taught to lower their gaze in the presence of a Muslim man. To prosecute a man for rape requires multiple male witnesses, and if they can't be produced, the woman is guilty of adultery. Also does not have the same inheritance rights as her brothers under Sharia. 411 states, with regard to inheritance, the male shall have the equal portion of 2 females. 228 states, and the men are a degree above them, women. But feminism is not the only issue in Omar's agenda that would seem antithetic to the principles of Islam. Herself pro-abortion and LGBT rights while vowing to fight for environmental justice and social justice. Victory speeches Tuesday night, one in English and one in Somali. She has lived for nearly 2 decades in the Cedar Riverside community, a section of Minneapolis often referred to as Little. It has the highest concentration of Somali refugees of any area in the country. They have been shipped there by the U.S. Department's Refugee Resettlement Program and its taxpayers-funded contractors since at least 1994, and the arrivals continue to this day. Somalis are sent to America at the rate of $700 a month under the program, which distributes them to more than 200 cities and towns for permanent resettlement. Another video trying to play. Former Minneapolis Mayor R.T. Ryback, who endorsed Omar, told the Star Tribune from refugee camp to the state capitol with intelligence and insight, "This is a wonderful story to tell and a great source of pride for the state of Minnesota open arms. Khan also praised her opponent and congratulated her for the historic victory. Ayan obviously ran a very good campaign and mobilized a lot of people that we didn't see before previous elections, Khan said after the results were in Tuesday night. Khan, a Jewish American woman, said that her own election in 1972 had been historic, and this is a new historic event. Our district is the home of historic events. This article goes on and on and on. There's a whole lot of this, but I'm not going to spend all day reading it. There it is for you if you would like to read the rest of that on her. My last one, well, this is, I don't know, this isn't so much of a feel good as it is a hearty laugh for you. You know, laughter is good for the soul. And I found this. I cannot make this stuff up. So I thought I would throw this out there for you to make you grin a little bit, or at least shake your head, or, you know, wonder what's wrong with me. I don't know. But this is off of The Age from Queensland, Australia. And it says, pork roast falls out of heavily intoxicated man's pants. Police were left mystified after pork roast fell from the pants of a heavily intoxicated man during a call out on the weekend. Dutton Park police were called to a local bus stop to find a man who police said seemed not too pleased to see them on the weekend. Senior Sergeant Greg Bishop wrote on a police blog on Tuesday. They tried to help the rather large man to his feet, and as they did so, a 2.5 kilogram uncooked pork roast fell from the man's pants. Seemingly as confused as the police officers, the man asked before leaving the bus stop. The mystery of the pork roast remains unsolved. So there you have that. That'll make you grin at least a little bit today. You'll be thinking about where'd that pork roast come from. So with that, I think we're going to close her down for today. I really appreciate everybody being with me on my chatters, my lurkers, and my Memorex viewers. I'm glad to have everybody with me, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to ground yourself, go out and stick your feet in the grass, take a breath of fresh air, and enjoy the weather, whether it's raining or sun shining or whatever's happening where you are. And we'll be glad to have you back tomorrow at noon for another exciting rendition of the news. We'll see what they have for us tomorrow. Thanks for watching.